Hey, it's Inspiration4U.
Hi, I'm Julie Knight, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Unit4, and welcome to Inspiration4U. I am absolutely pleased and just cannot wait for the conversation with Debbie Dunnam. Debbie and I crossed paths years and years ago when we were both at Cisco, and she is the Chief Commercial Officer at Dropbox, and she also happens to be a board member at Unit4. And Debbie, welcome to Inspiration4U.
Julie, thanks so much for having me join. I'm really excited about the conversation that we're going to have today that we'll be able to share with more people.
Excellent. Well, let's get right into it. We have an action-packed agenda and lots of great questions, and I know the audience will be thrilled to hear from a person that has, I think, been at some of the most amazing companies who have transformed the tech industry, probably over the past 20 years. And she has a lot to bring, a lot to say, so listen in. So let's go ahead and start with the first question, which is really around cloud companies. So as you know, you're on the board, you've followed Unit4. We are going through our own transformation. We're really excited about the products now, SaaS, that we're bringing to the market. Your own company, Dropbox, very well known in the collaboration space. As both the chief commercial officer and as member of the board, how do you see the world of cloud computing evolving for mid-market companies?
Yeah, and when I started my career, there was no cloud. And so I've lived through this transformation of our industry, right? And I am firmly convinced, and there's no doubt in my mind, that cloud-based everything will be the way of the future. And, the rapid shift to remote and hybrid work that the world went through during the pandemic really almost highlighted the need for cloud-based solutions where information can be securely accessed from anywhere on any device at any time, frankly, right? If you look at Bessemer's 2022 cloud report, they shared that public cloud spend is only 10% of the total $4 trillion of IT spend across the globe, with industries like restaurants and transportation and home services still, frankly, pretty early in their cloud adoption. I don't know about y'all, but I found that shocking that it's still only 10% of all of the spend that's going on there today. So I think that for SMB and mid-market companies, it's really further encouraged to make that shift because of things like cost effectiveness, right? Transitioning to a tool like Dropbox, Unit4, or utilizing AWS for backend servers is far more affordable for mid-market companies than managing their own in-house and on-prem solutions. And by leveraging cloud-based models, most mid-market companies can find applications that are very specific to solve for their unique workflow-based processes and also align with their vertical needs. And when I think about Unit4, I think that Unit4 does this really well with its industry mesh. It's a multi-tenant cloud service that's available as part of the ERPX cloud platform, and it really helps organizations adapt to their industry's changing needs. Unlike typical industry solutions that simply offer like templated best practices or maybe like an integration toolkit that leaves a lot of the burden on the customer, the Unit4 industry mesh actually does that work for the customer, for the organization, by delivering the pre-built integrations as a service. So as a mid-market company, it really serves all the needs that you have going forward.
Yeah, we're really excited about the mesh and what it can do and how it can help the customers. And yeah, you're right. We take a look, and I think all of us, you mentioned shopping. The world of B2C and our experience around everything from using the phone for purchasing whatever you want to purchase to ordering food through various services, buying a car. All of these things can be done really with a click of a button. And oftentimes in the world of B2B, it just hasn't been the case. And so you mentioned what's going on with Unit4 or with Dropbox and others. It's just really important that we start to knit these things together and see those experiences really become one. So you mentioned customer. Let's talk about the customer and specifically the pandemic. We're coming out of the pandemic. And there was a lot of change in terms of how we interacted with our customers. It was sort of the big shock of Zoom 24/7, 365. How has the nature of the customer relationships changed, as we start to come out of the pandemic? And, how is that evolving, or is it evolving?
I think it's so varied, right? First of all, the changes are significant. To your point, Julie, like we were all thrust into a brand new world overnight, frankly, right? And the changes have run the gamut from how we dealt with it over the last few years to how companies want to deal with it going forward. And frankly, every company in the world had to rethink, how do they want to operate? What's their office/virtual/hybrid model, right? Then how do we handle each country, state, cities, models, and requirements that still, to this day, continue to have different, unique requirements. But one of the things that I think is super important is, what do our people want to do in an environment that's still, frankly, kind of uncertain? And then ultimately, that feeds, how do customers and partners want to interact with their vendors? So I've seen a couple of things so far. I truly believe that most people want the flexibility of some mix of home, office, and some travel, but maybe not like we all used to travel. But on the other hand, people are so eager to reconnect and come back together. They want to engage face-to-face. They want to spend time together. They want to get to know each other and talk about their business priorities, their needs, and their opportunities, right? Now at Dropbox, we are traveling now to meet with customers and partners. We've done some event and trade shows, and they're being pretty well attended, I think. I think you've seen the same.
Yeah, definitely have seen the same thing.
Yeah. So it feels like what we probably will see going forward is some mix of virtual, face-to-face, small meetings, and then a sprinkling in of larger engagements or events, right? I think that the difference going forward is what and how do we use virtual versus the face-to-face events. So I think about things like, how can you use virtual to do the right meetings and the right processes, like proposals, negotiations, signatures, contract executions, things that in the past we always did face-to-face. I think we've all gotten, frankly, super comfortable with being able to execute the bulk of that work virtually with our customer base. And then we can use the balance of our face-to-face time, really spending time to understand what's happening with our customers, what's their business needs, what's their priorities, what's most important to them. And so I think it's going to be sorting out, how do we use that mix to best optimize our time and our customers and partners' time and really get the big bang out of the face-to-face.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's very similar to returning to office. Well, what does the office mean? Does the office mean that you have a dedicated desk and I go to my desk and I put in a lot of chair time and I do what I did before? Or does the notion of office really change and it becomes a place where the visit or the nature of the work or the nature of collaboration really has a greater purpose, and you can accomplish a lot of things at home. It gives you flexibility, it gives you privacy, it gives you time to think, and the office becomes something that is more of a collaborative environment. And I think, all of these interactions, virtual and in person, they're being redefined, and I think being redefined in a really good way. And it also gives people, I think, like the nature of relationship begins to evolve, and you're beginning to think about how do you meet the customer where they are, whether it's on a journey or just an interaction. So it's exciting. You're right. It is evolving, and I'm really excited to see how that transforms over the next couple of years.
And I'll just share it because I love the word you used, was collaboration. And so at Dropbox, we've gone to a virtual model, and we use our offices. We call them Dropbox studios. And the entire purpose of a Dropbox studio is collaboration. That's where people go to meet, to do projects together, to get with a customer, to get with a partner, to have a team meeting. And they've all been reconfigured to support collaboration, from collaboration between 2 people to 20 to 30 people, and really reconfigured to make them the place where people come together and collaborate, but still have that balance of in their home office, they've got their quiet time to get all their everyday work done.
Well, for you listeners who are in workplace experience, Dropbox Studio coming to a theater near you. No, I think it's super creative, and it takes like that maybe dusty name of office and puts it aside, and the idea of a studio, it just has so many different connotations to it, but I think all really positive in the minds of whether you're a worker or whether you're a partner or a customer.
Yep.
So you've been in IT for a while. You have been, as I mentioned, at some of the leading companies in the tech industry. You've seen how they've evolved. But one of the things that I think you certainly were at the forefront and now are seeing more of is the next generation of female sales leaders in tech. And I couldn't be more excited to see that transformation. You've written a lot about it. You're obviously experiencing a lot of that, not only with your own team, but on the boards that you're on and visiting customers. So you mentioned something about building your own boardroom, and explain to our listeners today, what does that mean? And then, if you would share any career advice you have, not only for women who are coming up through tech, potentially through sales, but also their gentleman counterparts, and how they can work to mentor, include, and partner as we build, a sales force or a selling organization that really serves a diverse customer base.
But it's one of my favorite things that I'm super passionate about is this concept of a personal board of directors. And so, and it's really made a big difference in my career, because I came up with the idea a long time ago and I've leveraged it throughout my career. So here's the basic concept. Everybody needs advice, coaching, counsel, a safe place to talk things through, maybe vent a little bit now and then, who knows. And then each of us have our own unique set of experience, expertise, knowledge, projects, things that we've been through in our career. But we also have areas that aren't our specialties, right? Like I don't write code, never will be able to write code. It's not my area of specialty, right? And so if we all think through our networks, right? And all the amazing people that we've had the opportunity to work with, meet with, do special projects with, we really end up having, frankly, a pretty amazing set of assets and friends that we can use to create what I call our personal board of directors. And so here's how I think about it. I think through all these years, and I think about who's the best marketing person I've ever worked with. And I can come up with lots of names really fast. Who's the best CFO I've ever worked with and know? Who's the best product manager I know? Who's the best customer support person I know? Then I go to them and I ask them, can you be my go-to person when I have a problem, I have a question, I have an idea, especially something that I think might be a little crazy, and then leverage their experience, expertise, and knowledge, and just get their feedback, brainstorm with them, bounce ideas off of them, take advantage of how they might have addressed this situation in the past. Now, there's a really important part of the equation now. The other part of the approach is you have to give back, right? So you have to make yourself available as that expertise. So I'm always available to be anybody's go-to-market person whenever they need the help, so that you can be on their personal board of directors. And, I've had people move in and out through the years. And I even have, like, for example, in the space of marketing, like I have somebody who's really good at certain verticals. I know somebody else who's really amazing at digital marketing, for example, right? So you can even like parse it out a little bit into unique areas of expertise. And then in terms of your question about like, how do we, continue to foster an inclusive and diverse world for everybody to join the wonderful career in technology that you and I have had the luxury of having, I just think that we all need to focus on being open to listening to thoughts, ideas, and input that are different than ours. understand the value of that difference, make sure the voices are heard all the way around the table, and incorporate them together, because I think there's so much opportunity in our industry, and there's so many talented individuals who can bring many, many, many different points of view. And if you think about how, to our earlier conversation, Julie, the world of cloud and collaboration is expanding the universe that our industry will continue to influence. We need to have all the different voices at the table, or we won't understand the needs of our current and our future customers.
Yeah, you're so right on. And, you just take a look at, and I come obviously from the marketing angle, but you think about, let's just say a buying center, let's say finance, for example. And, it's very easy to say, well, I'm just going to go after the CFO. And if you happen to get a hold of her, that's really fantastic. But she has a whole team, and that team can go all the way down to people who are just out of university. It can be somebody that is remote, another part of the world. But you have to really think about everything from not only their culture. You need to think about generation and how, for example, very tech savvy versus somebody that maybe is less so. You really need to understand the full palette in order to be impactful. Again, that's what persona, personalized marketing is all about. We get that, and we talked about this earlier in terms of the role of the mobile phone and other technologies. It's highly personal. It's highly about, it's about recommendations based on what you like, and things that maybe you don't see that you don't like. But all of that needs to now come into the fore as it relates to B2B and how we think about navigating, whether it's finance, HR, or sales, and all of those different attitudes, experiences, cultures, whatever it is, will just make that experience a much better one and much better for our customer. So let's now talk about opportunity for tech companies. Tech obviously is continuing to change. As I mentioned, I'm on the marketing side of things, and we've all known that MarTech has been just like vast, and there's more and more being developed every single day. So tell me a little bit from your perspective, and it could be as in your role today at Dropbox, in visiting customers, or just experiences along your own journey. What are some of the biggest opportunities for tech companies today?
So, I think it goes back to this whole rapid shift to remote hybrid work. And I think one of the things that it brought to the forefront was the need for really powerful collaboration tools. Like, I think we were glad to have collaboration tools before, but now it's a necessity, right? We can't function without them. And now that I think we've all gotten so used to and comfortable and savvy with all these collaboration tools, I don't think that we'll want to give them up, frankly, right? And so we've seen rapid improvements in collaboration technologies, but I think there's more to come on that front. And, if I think about what we do at Dropbox, we're really focused on how to be that center of collaboration with so many different tools and collaboration places out there: email, Slack, PowerPoints, Adobe, G files, pictures, videos. Like, it's crazy. And I don't know about you, but it's really difficult to track what you did, where you put it, right? And so we're really thinking
and what you called it.
Yeah, what did I name it, right?
Yeah, what did I name it?
We're really thinking about this concept of collaboration improvement being bringing those experiences together and helping customers be more effective, frankly, at managing all of that. Now, I do think also, to your point, I think automation has another big opportunity for technology companies to tackle. I think we're starting to see this with tools that automate things like project management or contracting or onboarding, right? Like, there is this whole set of automation that's driving productivity and process improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we like that. Like, it's like, oh, it's easy to do that now. In fact, used to take me twice as long. Now it's easier. An example I'll share from Dropbox is our HelloWorks product, which is part of our e-signature family, is a low-code form. You fill it out, the tool, it embeds e-signature, it simplifies and automates most of any company's onboarding process. And so this automation of repetitive processes is an area where I think we'll continue to see investments and improvements from technology companies to frankly free us all up to go spend our time on more important things, right? And then when I think about Unit 4 in this area, the one that sticks out for me is the Unit 4 talent management. It connects information from employees that lets managers do more things around defining, measuring, and understanding employee engagement levels throughout the organization. It also lets managers facilitate things like one-on-one conversations, track objectives, and then be able to give back to the employee by providing them with learning and growth opportunities that are frankly more tailored to where they are at that point in time. And I think the platform has become fairly invaluable to Unit 4's customers, but also to Unit 4. So when the company, had to make a decision back in, I think it was March approximately of 2020, what were they going to do in response to the pandemic? It had to take its workforce to 100% remote. Now, we've all lived through that time, but I can attest, taking a workforce of 2,000 employees who work in 26 countries across Europe, North America, Asia Pac, and Africa, and now have them work from home. By the way, most of them doing that for the very first time ever, is no easy feat. So I know Unit 4 was super happy that they had the Unit 4 talent management platform to help them move through that process and then be able to stay connected and interacting with the Unit 4 employees when they had to move to that environment.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I would layer onto that, having worked for HCM and performance management companies. I mean, there was always okay, well, these type of platforms are good at doing pulse surveys, and they are just maybe a bit of a better mousetrap as it relates to doing performance reviews. And I think performance management finally found its identity. If there's good things to be found with the pandemic, that situation really lent itself to why it's so critical, and how companies can use all of, think about it, the Swiss Army knife, whether it's the learning and development or surveys, feedback, conversations, all of it. It just became a way to guide, but a way to capture and understand when you don't have people coming to the studio or the office, where you can really, interact with people and get a sense of kind of where are they at and how are they feeling. That all had to be done remote. And, it's, I think it's really found its own, through the challenges of the last 2 years. So let's go to the fun part of our time together. And I promise that this is really easy, but really fun. And I think it's always great to learn a little bit more about what executives like yourself, what do you read? What do you think about? How do you have fun? What do people don't know about you? So let's start with a recent book that you've read, and why you'd recommend it.
Yeah, so I'm just finishing Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. It's by Richard Rummelt. It's actually a book that our CEO asked us all to dive in on, because we're in the throes of strategic planning for our next fiscal year, like lots of calendar-based companies are. And what I like about it is it's not a super giant book that's very complex to understand, but it really lays out through a lot of real life examples, like what is good strategy and what's bad, and how do we often as companies find ourselves going down the bad strategy path. And I don't like the word formula, but it has a really solid framework for how you think about staying in the box of good strategy and avoiding the pitfalls into bad. And, I've read a lot of business books over the years, and I really appreciate the ones that take real world examples that you can really understand the point they're trying to make, instead of it just being kind of a bit of an esoteric vague point. So lots of highlighting, lots of note taking, and it's not a super long read. So that's one of my latest.
Well, it sounds like one to put on the Kindle and read on the next trip. So, all right, folks, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy by Richard Rummelt. One to read.
Yep.
Best advice you ever received?
I at the time I got it, I didn't realize it was going to be the best advice, but it was, and it was, do the thing that scares you the most, because you'll be amazed about what you can actually do, and more importantly, what you'll learn. So every time I was asked to take on a project or a new role or a new opportunity that I was like in the back of my head thinking, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to do that. That sounds pretty terrifying. Or I've never done that before. Why would they
Yeah.
ask me to go do that? And every time I remembered that piece of advice that said, if it scares you, that's the thing to go do. And it's true. And I particularly use that advice when I was asked to do things that I may not have had a lot of background or experience in. And what I found was by diving in and doing it, I was able to gain the experience and understanding. And it always brought me another set of understanding that I could apply to the next, to the next, to the next. Because by going and doing things that weren't familiar, that weren't in my wheelhouse, that weren't easy for me to just, dive in on, I added to my experience, my knowledge and my expertise, and it kept broadening the way I thought about things going forward.
Oh, fantastic. And I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, yeah, you can just sort of look at it and go, oh my gosh, I don't know, how will I ever do that? But sometimes you just really have to lean into it and just go, it's going to be what it's going to be. And I'm going to learn some things. And if I fail miserably, I failed miserably. But there are things that I can take away from this. And sometimes, much to one's surprise, you can be an absolute success at it. So
exactly.
Good advice. All right. What fact about you, Debbie Dunnam, would surprise your coworkers or colleagues who have never met you in person?
This one's like super, super easy for me because I've had the luxury of having probably the most amazing marriage with the most supportive husband in the world. And one thing I try to explain to people is that until you meet Jim and I together, you don't really know the total me because we've been together for my entire career in technology. He's amazing. He's my cheerleader. He's my supporter. He's my confidant, and he's my defender. And so it's so much about the two of us together as a team, and it always has been. And so if somebody hasn't met us together, you haven't met the whole me, because I'm not my whole me if I don't have Jim by my side.
Well, I look forward at some point to meeting your other half and experiencing the whole you. It sounds fantastic. And I can honestly say I have the same situation and forever blessed.
Yes. It makes a huge difference.
Huge.
Difference. Yeah.
All right. We've talked about the pandemic. We've talked about the changes. We've talked about the potential, the change in terms of customer interaction, technology, what the workplace experience has become or is becoming. Your best remote work tip?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to get sucked in. And the next thing you know, it's 9:00 and you're still in your home office doing all kinds of stuff, right? Or
right.
You walk by and you're like, maybe I should, I'm walking by the door. Maybe I should just check my email. Maybe so. Yeah, it's so easy, right? But so to me, it's about saving your precious space. Like pick what time, whatever is your precious space. No calls, no meetings, no emails. Mine's in the morning. I live in Austin and I work for a company whose headquarters is in California. And so lots of people are, still sleeping when I'm getting up very early in Texas. I'm a Peloton addict. I bike, I do strength classes, I do yoga, I do meditation, I do bar, I do Pilates, I do pretty much everything they have on the platform, right? I always wait and have coffee with Jim in the morning every single day. We watch the birds come to the bird feeder, hang out, start the day together. And then I get my workout in before I start my day because I've learned a long time ago, if I don't do it in the morning,
not happening.
Not happening. Now, to be fair, because I have an international team, I mean, I do have certain days that I'll say, this is my early day. This is when I'll talk to EMEA early. So I have a day a week. That's my early day for EMEA. Then I have a late night day a week is what I reserve for APAC. But I set it up that way so I still can have how am I going to get my exercise time in? But I do try to keep my early morning sacred. So then I can start my day refreshed. I've got a clean slate and I'm ready to go. And the other little tip I would give, and I think it's everybody's guilty secret about being able to work from home, is it's super handy to be able to trade out your laundry loads in between Zoom calls.
Absolutely.
Or to, I happen to be able to see my front door from my home office and go get the Amazon deliveries when they come in, Or I don't know, maybe even have a quick little online Lululemon shopping break in the 10
Well, if you're
minutes
going to
or
work
so.
out every day, I mean, you've got to make sure that all the Lulu kit is new and fresh. So
Exactly.
yeah, well, excellent. This has been a wonderful conversation podcast. I mean, obviously, I've had the opportunity to get to know you through our time together at Unit4. While we didn't work together directly at Cisco, obviously, reputation precedes you. And, it's, I think, if nothing else, your experience, the fact that you're just very authentic, you really do look at the world of technology as enabler, a way to bring people together. I think the opportunity for the young and the old to grow and progress, and in the spirit of what you do, collaborate and connect, and that is a truly beautiful thing. So with that, thank you very much. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I'm sure you've got one or two emails to catch up on, so I'll leave you to that. And for the audience that listen to us, thank you for spending time with us and joining Inspiration4U. If you want to learn a little bit more about Debbie Dunnam, do check out LinkedIn, of course, and there's a myriad of articles and other things that she's written, and you can learn a lot about the boardroom and her thoughts on women in technology, and just making the world a better place. So thank you, and take care.
Thanks, Julie. You too.